Yeah.
with Chandra. And we have Zach and
Jesse's over
Jess
there.
over there.
over there. With Evolved. And then we have another Jessie and Annie with Rock Animal Training. And then Kira with Kira Schultz Dog Training. And then Christina with Christina Rose Dog Training. And this group will probably grow over the years, and hopefully, and we'll just see where it goes. But we are happy to have you all here. Hopefully this will be the kind of the first maybe annual event, maybe. We'll just kind of see what happens. But anyway, Chandra's gonna talk with us first about service dogs, therapy dogs, and ESA dogs.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Can I stay back here or do I have to go out there?
Whatever
Okay.
whatever it makes you happiest.
Okay. So I'm just going to kind of explain a little bit of the differences. A lot of people get really confused on what ESA's service and therapy animals are, and they also get confused on what the rights are on them. So what a service dog is a dog of any breed or size that are trained to perform a task to help their disabled handler. What they are not is required to have any certification. They're not required to have any of that. They don't have to have any certain amount of hours of training anymore. They used to. They do not have to be certified. They do not have to be trained by a professional trainer. So a lot of people get that really confused. So they think that like it has to be a professional trainer that trains the service dog. An owner is absolutely empowered to train their own service dog. I offer service dog training because I know that some people don't know how to do it, so it tends to be kind of hard for them to navigate because it's hard work. Strangely, the hardest part of it is actually public access, not them actually tasking or detecting or anything, alerting. All of that's easy. It's as simple as pairing obedience commands with a certain action and a certain scent and things like that. And when you do that, it comes real natural after that. But public access with the socialization and everything, that tends to be the hardest part. States are able to, in the case of service dogs, they are able to require a service dog be licensed and vaccinated. They are allowed to offer a service dog registration program, but they are not allowed to require a service dog registration program. They cannot ban a service animal based on breed either. So I've had a lot of people come to me and have that be like an issue for them. So even if like it's a place that, for instance, bans pit bulls, because we know that happens all the time, they cannot ban a pit bull when it is a service dog. So that's a really good thing that they've kind of come with. The only thing it requires, because I know a lot of people ask me, well, if they don't require a certification or a registration, what do they require? A written prescription from your licensed psychologist or medical professional. That is it. If any like housing or anything like that asks for the service dog certification, let them know that that is actually a scam. And I know that Kira knows this well too, because she actually showed me that there were companies that were charging people $80 for a fake certification. So it is a scam, and to not ever play into it. So ESAs, they are not service dogs. They are only to provide comfort and emotional support to their handlers. They are not given any of the rights for public access that a service dog is given. They are given housing authority to an extent. Recently, the ADA changed it to where so if you're going to rent a home, they can deny your ESA. They didn't used to be able to, they can now. So it's at the owner's discretion. Unless otherwise specified by your state. Some states will specify that you have to allow them. Not all states do. They also only require a prescription from your licensed psychologist or medical professional. ESAs are not trained to do anything specific. They don't even have to be potty trained. They just have to provide emotional support. But in that right, when we talk about what rights they do have, they're not allowed public access, so if somebody comes in and brings their dog in and says they're my ESA, they can't bring that into a place that's not already dog friendly. A lot of people do try to do this because they confuse the understanding between ESA and what is the word I'm looking for? Psychiatric service animals. So there are psychiatric service animals and there's medical service animals. Psychiatric service animals are to help with breaking a anxiety attack in public, things like that. That's not the same as an emotional support animal. Therapy dogs are specifically to go visit things like hospitals, nursing homes, children's homes where they've been removed from their family, things like that, to provide comfort and healing to those specific patients or children. But they are not service dogs in any fashion. They don't get the right to also go into public spaces that are not dog friendly unless it's those specific places they've been assigned. When it comes to therapy animals, the only way to certify them is to go through a program such as HALO or some other therapy dog program, and they have to take a test, and that if they pass that test, that's when they get their certification, and they have to work alongside with that organization. So they don't just get to choose wherever they go. A lot of times the organization will say, hey, we have these places this week that need a therapy animal, and you basically act like you're an Uber driver and say, I'll take that one, okay? So that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys.
All right, I guess, does anyone want
to have training? Why did they stop that?
So they used to, a long time ago, they used to require 350 hours of training. And that was just like, it didn't matter who did the training, but you just had to log how much time they spent training. The main reason why they don't do that anymore is because each dog kind of learns at a different pace. So 350 hours may be too much for one dog and not enough for another. So,
yes. I've got a question. So, AKC says that if your dog has good canine citizen,
Canine Good Citizen?
that's
Yeah.
it, I get it. That they're a therapy dog, basically.
So it is a lot of the same requirements. Like a lot of the things that are in the CGC test are usually in the therapy dog test, but they're not certified until they take that test. So they'll be certified to be a Canine Good Citizen if they take a CGC test, but therapy dog test has to be taken with the therapy dog organization. So.
Thank you. And you do therapy dogs?
I do therapy prep classes, and then usually who I send people to is HALO, because they tend to be the one that I just really vibe with them more than anybody, to be honest. So.
Yeah.
You said that not all states, but some states do. Do you know if Oklahoma is one of those states?
That do what?
Well, certified dogs.
Oh, that offer the service dog certification program, or
When you were talking about allowing ESAs into
Oklahoma is not.
No.
Yeah, Oklahoma is definitely not. They're very.
Has it always been that way, or has it just been like recent?
ESAs have always been that way, so a lot of people just got it confused because when ESAs came out, they thought, oh, that's another form of a service animal. And so when they started getting their ESAs, nobody really broke down the difference to them, so they just started taking their ESAs places. And actually, a lot of businesses also got confused about that and just allowed it. But unfortunately, that can cause like dog fights with like real service dogs and things like that. And so they've really like been better about kind of breaking down the differences for people. So.
I have a question from like an animal welfare standpoint. What do we tell individuals that may contact us requesting information on how to make their animal an ESA animal because they are getting evicted? Or what do we tell people when they say, I have 5 ESA animals?
Yeah, so by law, you're only allowed to register, or not register, but you're only allowed to have one ESA. Service animals are different because you can have multiple tasks that you need to do that maybe one dog can't do all of. But ESAs, you're only allotted one, and ESAs can be any animal. So I have a lot of people that have snakes as ESAs. But when somebody inquires to you about it, I would just say, hey, listen, like, the only way that you can make your dog an ESA is if your doctor says that you need one, and then they write you a prescription for that.
But that won't cover them if they're getting evicted.
It should, but because it's at, like, kind of owner's discretion now, because it didn't used to be. It used to be like, they were ESAs, you had to accept them.
Yeah.
And you may have like a monthly fee of like $25, but you couldn't have like a pet deposit charged to you. It was like more like a pet rent,
Yeah.
but not the pet deposit, and they couldn't deny you, but now they can.
Okay.
Is there specific criteria for that?
For which thing?
The denying the ESAs, or they just
It's at their
get to say no if they
discretion.
want to?
Yeah, unfortunately. Anything else? Okay.
So, for the therapy dogs, just to make sure I understood what you were saying, it could be any existing dog that just has to go through a test that can become a therapy dog?
Yeah, so a lot of times when we work with therapy dogs, every time we work with anybody that wants to make their dog a therapy dog, we do obedience first, so we gotta make sure that all of that is up to date, and then we have to actually take into consideration the personality of the dog, and they may not be able to handle that work because it is a lot. And so unless they have the proper temperament for that work, we will never approve them for the therapy prep class, so.
I want to ask also, just so everybody knows, what are they allowed to ask for as proof? Like if you go into a public place with your
Good
service
call.
dog?
Okay, so they're only allowed to ask these specific questions. They're allowed to ask what task your dog performs for you, and is this a service dog? They're not allowed to ask, can I see your registration or your paperwork? They're not allowed to ask what your disability is, because that's against HIPAA. They're not allowed to ask anything other than those two questions. So,
I have a follow-up question.
yes.
Where can they send people if the person's trying to argue with them about it? So you tell them these are the questions they're allowed to ask. What reference can that person give them?
One, they can refer them directly to the ADA website. Two, they can have them call me. I have all the paperwork ready and rearing for them. I actually, once a month, I take around to as many companies as I can. I take little cards out that says, hey, here's what you can ask for, here's what to look for in possibly a fake service animal, and here's what your rights are. And so education is probably the biggest part, because a lot of the companies that actually break that don't know they're breaking it, because nobody ever taught them what to do. So, yeah. Anything else?
Well, I was just gonna follow up to the two questions. Is that relevant to why the dog might be there? Is that why they can ask that question? I mean, like,
Yeah,
or-
because a lot of times, like, companies do deal with fake service dogs coming in, so in order to kind of weed that down, and like, 'cause there will be times where people will bring completely human and dog aggressive dogs into a place, and it is scary, like, and so in order to protect the real service dogs and the whole, opportunity to have a service dog, because we could lose that if people, don't follow the rules, and to protect their business, they can ask those things.
Are there specific things that the dog does that could get them kicked out even if they are a service dog?
Yes, so, they cannot be disruptive, so they can't be barking their heads off the whole time, they cannot use the bathroom in the actual facility. Basically anything that qualifies as disruption. So the service dog really needs to be very well behaved. A lot of times we kind of talk about, they should be almost not seen, not heard, because if, for instance, you're eating at a diner or something like that, your dog should not be in the, chair next to you, unless it specifically pertains to your, disability. They should really be tucking under the table, completely quiet, and staying there completely still and quiet. And like I said, I will say a lot of companies do, end up like trying to not believe people that their dog is a service animal based on the dog's size. So there are dogs that are service animals from Chihuahua all the way up to Great Dane. So, I mean, it is very understandable. Now, another thing that does kind of create a problem is that it used to be that if you had a service dog, they had to be on the floor at all times. They could not be in your arms or in a cart or anything like that. That has also changed in the past few, years, where you can hold your service dog, especially if it is a smaller one, and it's supposed to alert you of like diabetic issues or seizures, or anything that they can smell on your breath, because they may be too far, so.
Last question, and then I'll leave you alone.
Okay.
Can your service dog jump on you? Is that a disturbance to other people?
So technically not, and the reason why is because some service dogs are actually trained to do that, like for instance, breaking up an anxiety attack or something like that, or that may be their way of alerting, hey, you're gonna have a seizure, you need to lay down right now, you know, so.
I do have a question. I know people that have spent $20,000 on dogs, for diabetic kids. So if you're gonna spend that much money, how do you know because you said anyone can do it. How do you know, as a consumer?
Yep, so you have to really vet your people, you have to really, like we talk about all the time, checking into, what their qualifications are, checking reviews, checking what kind of training they do, if it's safe, things like that. Service dogs should really never be trained with any aversives. So that's a really important thing, because you could end up making a service dog become aggressive when they've worked their whole lives to do this job just from using aversives on them, so. Yeah, so it can be rough, because there are some service dog trainers and some service dog training organizations that charge that amount, that use prong collars and shock collars and things like that. And it is scary, to be honest. Yeah, it's pretty scary, because you don't have a reliable dog at that point, so.
Service dogs and therapy dogs, do they kind of have the same temperament, or do
Usually,
they
yeah.
have the same?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
usually the same
They kind
temperament.
of go hand in hand.
Yeah, and some dogs, like, if it's a basically really strong enough dog, some people with service dogs will also multitask train them to be a therapy dog also. So, which is pretty cool. I've never done that to both, because I feel like that's a lot on the dog, and I'm a very big advocate on, like, your dog needs breaks. You know, because that's one thing, is there is a different level of abuse when it comes to service dogs, because this is medical equipment. And so a lot of, like, in my opinion, this is a pet and medical equipment, whereas a lot of different training organizations, they don't want you to look at it as a pet. This is medical equipment, you do not look at this as a pet, and I don't think that's fair. So, they need to enjoy their lives too. So.
I lied, I'm sorry, one more question. Does a service dog always have to be on a leash?
The only time they're allowed off leash is if it pertains to the task. Other than that, yes, and they do also have to have their shots and stuff like that, just like any other dog, so. Yeah. Anything else?